Valya's approach to leadership, I think, mirrors her approach to problem solving. It's this like strong, focused, straightforward approach to fixing things. And for instance, she describes Havoko, a man, quote, more prone to stability than strength, end quote, as literally being weak and unfit for rule. Now, is she saying that just to upset him and to be thrown in prison? Maybe. But ultimately, I think it's telling that she thinks that someone who is stable and reliable is weak and ultimately unfit for rule. That's how she views leadership. Now, she uses the mantra, sisterhood above all, regularly, but also regularly makes decisions, both in the book and in this series, driven by her desire for revenge against House Atreides and for the rise of House Harkonnen, basically. I also think that her final kind of agony, quote unquote, against the RNA retrovirus in this episode shows us at her core, Valya is still very much that young woman. She's kind of frozen in her views of the world on Lankavale right after, saving Griffin, but still very much afraid of being wrong. She still like ties her identity very much to Griffin Harkonnen and that moment. And I still think of her as that like kind of frozen in development young woman. She's not, she hasn't gotten wise in her older years. It's like a lot of the same mentalities there.
Totally.
And we even see a glimpse of that when Evgeny Harkonnen calls her out on some of it. We see how much it shakes her when he goes, "You're the one that killed Griffin." And we see her, "I will not apologize for my strength," she says, too defensively. All right, Valya. All right. Covering
Sounds
it
like
up
someone who maybe hasn't come to peace with their baggage.
Yeah, it sounds like someone who should probably apologize for their strength also. Especially because your strength keeps getting people killed. Now, in this episode, we see Francesca basically secure the purported goal of the sisterhood. And I recognize there is definitely some ambiguity here because we don't get Havoko explicitly saying, "I'm going to make you the empress." But when she approaches Valya, she's like, "My imprint holds. We've got it. How about I do this? Or how about I leverage my control over him to let go, release Yanez?" And when she tells Valya that, Valya's like, "No, I'm not having it," because ultimately I think that's not actually Valya's goal. Initially, her objection seems strategic. Hey, a divorce? Oh, ew, a divorce? We all know that's messy. That's going to destabilize the already unstable empire. Let's murder the emperor. And it's like, okay, I think this is more about you being like really angry at Havoko than being a strategic mastermind, right? Quote, "Carino has forfeited his right to live out his reign in peace." End
okay,
quote.
Valya.
Okay, Jesus. Apologize for your strength. I'm telling you, it's going to make everything better. This is also when she suggests changing tactics, again, just redefining the goalposts so that she can kind of continue to lead the party. And on one level, like maybe she doesn't have any faith that he will ultimately reject Desmond Hart, but then later, when he literally asks her for her support, like, "Hey, buy in with me. Come back. I'm so sorry. Help me defeat Desmond Hart." Even then, she really takes the time to like dig into him. And instead of just being like, "No, we can't do that. And ultimately I came here today to kill you." And then he could have arrested her. Again, It all just feels very personal and very petty.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, also, the plan she outlined, as we pointed out, has like gaps in it that are wide enough to navigatorless fly a highliner through. So I'm deeply skeptical that she's fully thought all of this out. And all of this reads to me as like spiteful anger, maybe retribution for being fired, but generally she is just clearly driving things emotionally, which is not who she purports to be. This isn't who she admits to being.
Yeah.
So I think that is what I would say the show is about Valya being driven more than she expects by the fear of being that person who got Griffin killed for no reason. I think she is trying to prove herself to everyone around her, but mostly herself. And she's also not buying her own bullshit. And I think that's the story that we got. And I think that's like broadly a pretty compelling story. I do feel like when she tells Tula, "I'm no longer afraid," that is the moment that many of us were hoping for, to have this like Valya's arrived and now she's in a new stage of her life, and that's what this season brought us. That being said, we were promised a lot more, or at least like we were hinted at getting a lot more from the universe, from these other characters. Again, characters like Inez, who could have had this great long runway and great character development, or characters like Constantine, who took up maybe too much space in the earlier episodes, but as we were talking about with Nerd Cookies in our live stream on Thursday, like Constantine and his scenes with Francesca were really heartfelt, and like
yes, absolutely,
we're great, but we're getting them after multiple episodes of him being kind of a lame duck character who's just one note. Really good to look at, just so good to look at.
A sexy duck.
A sexy lame duck, just the lamest, sexiest duck. I mean, quack, quack, Constantine. I've got some breadcrumbs for you.
I'll spread my feathers for you, or whatever ducks do.
Whatever ducks do, yeah.